Wouldn't it be great if we did a Formula One party then
Right.
in Miami? And you kind of go, well, how does this tie to our top line? And
Yep.
what's the objective? And where does that all fit?
Yep.
And what does it do to the objective of the EBITDA? It could be a major expense, but it also might be an investment in new clients, and it makes sense because.
We're live. Yay.
Yay.
So it's actually the end of the year for us. I know we're going to put this out here in 2026, but this is our last recording of the year.
This is crazy.
Really exciting.
Here it is already. End of the year.
End of the year.
Oh, it's so fast.
It did.
Days go slow, the years go fast.
Oh, yeah. And we've had our hands full with a lot of what we want to talk about today, which is strategic planning and how to make it 10 times more productive. Because sometimes these strategic planning sessions get a little sloggy.
And slow. And, it's that time of year where whether it's beginning of the year, tail end of the year, your mind starts to shift. Like, what did I accomplish and where am I going?
Yep.
You've worked a ton with companies about a three-step process that really helps make planning work.
Yeah. And let me back up a little bit and I have been a part of some large companies and sitting in some really long strategic planning processes that honestly, the first day is super exciting. Everybody's really energized. But by the second day, we're all opening up our laptops. We're all just ready to move forward.
Right.
And I observed this quite a bit, whether it was Office Depot, Sports Authority, or wherever. And once I went out on my own, I thought about like the process is still important.
Mm-hmm.
The reality is for a lot of companies, if you don't do strategic planning, you're probably not working on the right things. You're probably not planning in the numbers the way you need to plan in the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And no one's real clear on the direction of the business. There's a lot of whys to strategic planning.
Mm-hmm.
But how do we not make it this big, long thing with lots of presentations? So not only is it, 2 or 3 day session, but, there's 2 weeks of working on all these presentations.
And trust falls and, forced fun.
Right.
Just stuff where you're like, this is so cringe.
Oh, exactly. I mean, I remember a strategic planning session that they holed us up in a hotel for 2 days. I mean, we worked from 6 a.m. to 2 a.m. in the morning and then a couple hours and then get up all over again. And it really doesn't need to be like that to be just as effective. Yeah. So what I have found is you can really keep the attention of people, I think, between 5 and 6 hours in general. So I thought, you know what, how can we do it so that we get what we want and the result that you want to get you prepped for the following year, following 3 years, but do it in that 5 or 6 hours versus 3 days. And so there's 3 things we want to talk about. One is pre-work. Pre-work is such a magic thing because it allows people to not only go from heavy in the business work to all of a sudden they got to leave for strategic planning, but to spend a good month prior to strategic planning getting their mindset right.
So is it a month in advance or 2 weeks or?
It could be. Yeah. And I like it to be between 2 and 3 weeks in advance because
setting their mind.
You're giving
ready.
them little pieces of, okay, let's have you think about, let's say you're the CEO of the business. Mm-hmm. What do you think the strategy of growth should be for this business? Mm-hmm. What do you think the growth numbers should be in the revenue, in the profits? What are we doing well? What are we not doing well? Mm-hmm. Do we have the right team? Do we not have the right team? What would help fill the gaps? Mm-hmm. And everyone who's going to be in that meeting should answer all the same questions, whether you're talking the C-levels or even, if you've got VPs or SVPs that can come to the table and offer
and what does that do when you ask the similar same questions to all those people?
Yeah, it gives you just such a nice variety of thinking.
Yeah.
I mean, you get, and there's some commonalities in there as well. And I think that's the important thing is where are the commonalities across this group and where are the contrasts? Right. Now you've got actual information you can bring to the table. The other thing I love to do is pre-work, which we've done a little bit with our clients, but not some of them we have and some of them we can't always do. But it's the pre-work is we're not going to spend the first 2 hours going over the past performance of the company.
Right.
You guys are going to do that on your own. I want everyone to get a baseline of performance so that we have an understanding of where are we at today, where have we been, where are we at today.
Yep.
That way we can only work towards the future instead of spending the first couple hours on the past to set the tone, which is really
because
valuable.
then they're like, okay, we're focusing on the future. We get it. This is all stuff that happened. Let's not belabor the point too much.
Right.
Let's understand what got us here, but now let's work on the stuff that's going to get us there.
Right.
Yeah.
One of the first strategic sessions I joined was right after I left here, Omaha. I joined a new company in North Carolina, and we literally within a month, I believe, we were in a 2-day strategic planning session. And the first 3 hours was all about the last 5 years of performance and how the next 5 years would look if we continued to go in that same path. And it was pretty valuable, but I think people could have read that prior to that meeting and really gotten their mindset around, okay, so if we don't change anything, this is where we go.
Right. So pre-work, because it's like you don't want people to just show up and say, well, here we are in Phoenix. This is awesome. Well, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Because that's not really a strategy.
It's too black and white. It doesn't allow for them to kind of dip their toe in. And because we know we don't spend a lot of time week over week on strategy. So this pre-work is like a warm-up, if you will. It helps everybody warm their minds up to, we're going to be thinking up here.
Do you want them to work together on the pre-work, or is it all individual, it's siloed?
Great question. I do it as individuals because I tend to think that groupthink means, you got a couple of your extroverts who are going to lead. And that you've got introverts or others that are either just going to be agreeable or not share their voice. And so I like the individual. Yeah.
Because a personality can be pretty strong where someone, and usually the people that maybe you find this, the quiet ones are also the most powerful thinkers.
So powerful.
But the personality of the person that is driving the meeting and constantly talk. The quiet one is like, maybe I should just shut up and just.
Right.
Yeah.
And then for you and I as facilitators of strategic planning, we get an opportunity to see inside their heads.
Right. Where you can say, what are your thoughts?
Right.
Well,
yeah, we can choose like, okay, this person brought up some really key points. There is a red flag. Why don't we call them before the strategic planning meeting and find out what they're talking about here on this red flag?
So they show up with this pre-work. Ideally, then what happens?
Yep.
Like, minute 1, day 1.
And you've seen this. I used to do it manually, and now ChatGPT does help me out a little bit on this front.
Right.
Is I will take all of their answers from their pre-work, and I will, of course, read them. I think that's my responsibility as a facilitator, right? But I do load them up in ChatGPT and get an output. What does this say about where this team would like to go with their business? Where are the commonalities? Where are the contrasts? Because that's what we're going to walk in with, and that's where we're going to start. And that's what cuts off a good 3 to 4 hours is, okay, based on what everybody has provided as their pre-work goes, this is the output. This is the things you guys want to talk about in
Here's
this strategic
what's important
planning.
to all of you.
Yeah.
Here's what's on your mind. Here are the concerns, and then here are the, would you say, opportunities, ideas?
Opportunities, for sure.
Yeah.
The other thing is what's interesting, and we saw this with one of our bigger clients this year, is that what comes out of some of these pre-work as well as you see where they have a passion. So if you're looking at net new opportunities, some of these folks, you start to think about, well, that person could lead this net new opportunity because they have a pretty big passion around or cross-functional, this group of 2 or 3.
Right.
They have the most passion around that, so they could lead these net new opportunities if the entire team got on board.
Yeah.
So you start to see where people believe the growth can happen.
Mm-hmm.
And that can start to provide you little mini teams that will actually execute on those growth opportunities.
So if they show up, the pre-work's done, what happens on the other side of that coin if somebody hasn't done the pre-work?
Yeah.
What does that do? Because you see it right away. But is it a reflection of the leadership team or is it a reflection of the individual?
That's a great question. I mean, we've seen that, get one individual sort of, we got to push them along and say, hey,
or cattle
did you get your
prod.
pre-work done?
That's right. Right.
Yeah. I mean, it does say a lot of times to us, it says, listen, they're not quite seeing the value in the strategic planning. So we got to jump on the phone and have a one-on-one and say, you know what, you're a part of this leadership team and we value you as a part of that. Part of that means you've got to spend some of your time allocated towards the bigger picture, towards future. We haven't gotten your responses yet. Tell us what's going on. Try to give them the benefit of the doubt and a little bit of a positive intent there. But really also share with them that in order to really be a part of this, they've got to step up.
Yeah.
So let's go to number 2 really quick here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Point 2.
One of the things I've seen in strategic plan is there's a lot of presentations. Facilitators will come in and they could present for hours before there's any interactivity. From the very start, because we had them do pre-work, everything in the strategic planning session should be interactive from minute 1 to the last minute of that strategic planning. Every single thing should be interactive. So setting up the agenda means you're going to be delivering certain messages at certain times, but then delivering the working session to do. So it's essentially a working session. It's essentially for them to take, this is the output that came out of your pre-work. Now we want you to work through the details of that output so that we can get to an end game that says, these are the strategies, this is the vision, this is the goal, here's the owners.
And if it's interactive, do they come up with, say, 3 things that they're going to focus on or 300? I mean,
well, we know they can't do 300, right?
But
they
that's
will
usually
start,
what happens, though, right? Oh, well, let's add this. Yeah, that's a great idea, Bob. What about you, Sue? Oh, well, I think there's 17 other amendments we should have taken. And at the end of the day, you've got this whiteboard with 84 things on it. So those are our objectives for the year?
Well, and we know that's fine, actually. 84 things, throw it in a parking lot. Now, at the end of every session, we have them vote on their top. We have them
2 or 3,
tick mark, right? Yeah. And that always, and so we're never the bad guys. Right. We don't have to say, and we don't want to be in a position of determining their priorities anyway. They're the best to do that. So at the end of every strategic planning session, they can come up with 84, 300, 4,000 priorities. That's totally fine. But they will vote and they will each get 3 votes.
Because getting a voice is important.
Yeah.
And, some of the craziest ideas and concepts come from discussion like that, which is healthy because the ones who say, well, I just didn't get a chance to voice my opinion, they get a chance to voice those things. Put it up there. Let's talk about it. But then when it comes time to let's rank these things.
Yeah.
Because then how do you tie those rankings, making it interactive, but the rankings back to the core strategy of the period of time that you're planning for?
Right. Yeah. And actually that leads into number 3, keeping the end in mind. At all time, a lot of times we have to remind our clients, okay, remember what we're going for here.
Right.
You guys want to go for a 2x on the revenue, and let's say you want to go for a 20% improvement on your EBITDA.
Okay.
And we do try to help them, see those 2 bookends, revenue and EBITDA, because that's something that most of the leadership team can understand. The details can come later, but those are the 2 things that they all get and they can all buy into. And we ask questions in pre-work that gets us to those numbers so that we can get that alignment and that buy-in there. And then we have to kind of bring that back up every so often, maybe every 30 minutes, every hour. Okay, remember, we're going towards 2x revenue. Are these things that you're putting down on a piece of paper, tactics, are going to help us get to that 2x?
If they don't have that tied, is what you're saying, you can go down some rabbit holes.
Yeah.
Of wouldn't it be great if we did a Formula One, party in Miami, and you kind of go, well, how does this tie to our top line, and what's the objective, and where does that all fit?
Yep.
And what does it do to the objective of the EBITDA? It could be a major expense, but it also might be an investment in new clients, and it makes sense because. And if you kind of see people around the table, yeah, that's right, okay. Or on the other side of the coin, they truly buy into it and say, well, here's why, and here's the methodology. Here's how it ties to the revenue, the EBITDA.
Yep.
And if at least you get that alignment, you can start to feel the rhythm in the room change.
Right.
It's like locking arms.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So the pre-work is going to get them to the vision that we do. Just to be hard about this, we like to include revenue and EBITDA in that vision. The vision cannot be 100% soft.
Yep.
There has to be some hard numbers in there. Then we like the pre-work to help identify 3, maybe 4, but generally 3 strategic pillars. These are sort of big ideas about how they're going to get to that revenue and EBITDA. And then we like them to work during the session. Once we get the buy-in on those 2 things, we like them to work in that session on the tactics that are going to fall underneath those strategic pillars and the KPIs that will fall in those strategic pillars as well. And then last but not least, the owner of that strategic pillar.
Who owns it? Yeah.
Who owns it?
Right.
And really working with them to say, listen, this is the owner. They are somewhat the coordinator, the facilitator. Everyone else has a voice in that strategic pillar, but we need to identify an owner so we know who's keeping it on track.
Yeah, so you don't get am I doing this? Or?
Yes.
Because then the takeaways are what? Because now you've finished and you have this beautiful, could be 1 page, could be 10 pages.
Yep.
It's not a 200-page binder, but like the workbooks you put together have very clear assignments.
Yeah.
With dates, with expectations. And so there isn't that, oh, gee, it's Friday. What am I supposed to be doing today?
Yeah.
It's like, okay. And so you populate that, or we take those assignments, and then we hold those people accountable without really just saying, look, your homework's due tomorrow type thing.
Right, right. So we help build dashboards. It depends on the client and how we're going to start the rhythm. But we have a very connected weekly, monthly, and quarterly rhythm. Ideally you get a quarterly plan and then you back it into a weekly need. What is the thing you need to do this week to be able to move towards hitting that quarterly goal? And then sometimes we're on the calls to help facilitate those weeklies. And, and sometimes our clients can do that on their own, and then we'll, back off and do more of a quarterly rhythm.
It applies to any company.
Any company.
I wish I would have had something like this, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Starting any business that I've started, it's like this would have been absolutely magical.
Well, this discipline is so valuable for any company, but in particular, companies that we like to work with, have aggressive revenue and profit goals. The more aggressive you get, the more disciplined you need to be. And so our rhythm and our structure really enforces that discipline, that accountability, which gives you a much higher chance of hitting those goals.
Do you find that there's gaps in the team that are identified through this sometimes?
Yeah, that's a great question. I of course we do, right? Yeah, I mean, we see real quickly who's going to buy, who's buying in, who wants to spend the time at that level, who's actually just talking strategically, who's thinking strategically. So it separates the pack a little bit, and we do hope everybody comes along. A lot of times we'll work with them on their very first strategic planning. And we hope over the course of 12 to 18 months, everyone's going to come along. But there's just times when
Yeah.
not everyone does. And
Yeah. You can learn so much from companies that tried stuff like this but didn't execute on it very well.
yeah.
I watched a really interesting story about Skype. Do you remember Skype?
Oh, yeah.
Skype had, I didn't realize this, almost 90% market share.
Oh, wow.
And even right up to the pandemic, they were the go-to communication tool.
Oh, my God. Until Zoom came along?
Yeah,
or
until
what?
Zoom supplanted them.
Wow.
Because Skype, a variety of strategic errors is the point, and just tone deafness of the executive team, because they sold it a couple of different times and Microsoft had eventually bought it. But it was one of those where you're just like, what happened here? And how can companies avoid that when they're doing planning like this? And these are just little fundamental things. But along the way of just saying, this is what we're going to be, here are the revenue goals, the EBITDA goals, the people in the right seats, and who can get it and wants it and has capacity to do it, all that stuff. In addition, where does market analysis fit in to that? Like, oh my gosh, we do have a competitor. Now we have 2, now we have 8, now we have 12.
Right.
My guess is it gets slid in there, but it isn't the paramount thing that drives. Yeah.
No, because then it's a distraction sometimes. They've got to focus on their own business and what it's going to take to grow. And like even we sometimes do it actually after the fact.
Right.
With one of our bigger clients, right? We've said, listen, you've identified a KPI as market share for this strategic pillar. So now you need to go understand what market share is, where you're at, current state. So, okay. So we have 3 suggestions if you do strategic planning. If you don't, by the way, we have a nice little checklist. So if you want to reach out to us, we're happy to send you a checklist as well to make your strategic planning highly effective and help you remind yourself of the why. But just remember, pre-work, hugely valuable. And in that checklist, we'll give you the questions that we also ask. Also, keep it interactive from minute 1 to the end of the session. Should be 100% interactive the whole time. No 2 or 3 hours of presentations. And then third, keep repeating the end in mind. Establish it at the very front end, get the buy-in, and then repeat it consistently because repetition really works and keeps people in the right frame of mind to be able to come up with the right things that you're going to do to hit that end in mind. And the end in mind usually for us is start with revenue and EBITDA. It's one of the two of the things that makes it the easiest and most clearest for everybody to be on the same page.
It's perfect. Yep.
So thank you so much for
You betcha.
listening.
Thanks, everybody.